When it comes to all the evidence that the spying on the Trump campaign by the FBI was politically motivated, the media loves to downplay that. They like to tell you, no, it was just sloppiness. These were just missteps. This isn't an instance of political targeting. And of course, they have to play down the political targeting because it happened during the Obama administration, a Democrat president, and they can't have such a major scandal fall on the Democrats. But yet, when you go through and you take a look at everything, you can't ignore the fact that it was political targeting by all the evidence. Now, CNN, and they're downplaying, and this is just great. They come out and go, no. See, these were facts that lacked supporting documentation or facts that were in contradiction to the supporting documentation. Facts in contradiction to the supporting documentation. Wow. What a way. I wonder the person who wrote that, if they knew how dumb that sounded. But I digress. So I figure let's go ahead and take a look at some of the sloppiness and see whether or not sloppiness could be attributed to this versus political targeting. All right, so just the news comes out, 13 revelations showing the FBI never really had a Russian collusion case to begin with. Number one, the FBI possessed information dating to 2015 in Steele's intelligent Delta file, warning that he might be a victim of Russian disinformation. So right off the bat, you realize that Russian disinformation specialists are trying to feed information to Steele, and you base your investigation off of the information coming from this guy. All right, already one big problem. Two, senior Justice Department official Bruce Orr warned the FBI in August of 2016 that Steele had an extreme bias against Trump. So yeah, I'm going to clarify this here in just a moment. Three, Steele's work on the dossier was funded by Trump's rival in the election, Hillary Clinton's campaign, and the Democrat Party through their opposition research firm Fusion GPS. So let me get this straight. You're attributing to sloppiness the fact that the FBI was using information paid for by Trump's political rival to a guy who had extreme bias against Trump, who was also a foreign national and foreign spy, by the way, who you knew was being targeted by Russian disinformation specialists to get disinformation to him. And you're saying sloppiness? You know, if this wasn't political targeting, it would be complete and total incompetence. All right, number four. Steele told a State Department official in October 2016, 10 days before the FISA warrant was first secured, that he had leaked to the news media and he had an election day deadline. So if the first three were not enough of a warning sign, the fact that he was talking about having a deadline of the election day should have set off red alarms. You know, red alert if you're a Star Trek nerd. All right, number five. Steele was fired on November 1st, 2016 for violating his confidential human source agreement by leaking to the media. And so now he is a discredited source that was fired, and yet they still kept using his information. Amazing how this happens. Amazing how all the errors seem to be going in one direction. Number six, information Steele provided to the government was proven before the FISA warrant was granted to be false and inaccurate. So you proved that the information was false. You knew he was the subject of a Russian disinformation campaign. He had extreme bias. He was funded by a political rival, and he violated his confidential human source agreement by leaking to the media, telling you he had an election day deadline. Right. All right, number seven. Steele was caught in October 2016 peddling false internet rumors. So now you have a guy who you know is peddling rumors and misinformation online, and yet you're still accepting his information with all the other things that we had discussed. Isn't that amazing? All right, number 8. The FBI falsely declared to the FISA court it had corroborated the evidence in Steele's dossier used in the search warrant application, including that Carter Page had met with 2 senior Russians in Moscow in summer of 2016. In fact, the Page meetings were never corroborated, and the spreadsheet that reviewed every statement in the Steele dossier found most were either inaccurate, uncorroborated, or information easily found on the internet. Okay. Again, all the errors seem to be going in one way, and it's not that this was laziness or sloppiness, but rather this seems like a deliberate attempt to ignore all the warning signs, all the red flags, all the, hold on, you're engaged in a baseless witch hunt, and they blatantly ignored that. Okay, number 9. The FBI interviewed Steele's primary subsource in January 2017, who claimed much of the information attributed to him was not accurate, exaggerated, or rumor. So, yes, they interviewed one of the subsources that Steele claimed as a source of his information, and the person saying, no, I didn't actually say that. That's not what I was saying. That's completely inaccurate. So now you have direct contradiction by someone Steele is claiming to be a source. And you're still using that dossier at this point to justify an investigation? Any one of us, anybody, doing this in any other case would have been not only fired, but probably thrown in jail for abuse of power at this point. All right, number 10, the FBI possessed statements of innocence from Page collected by an undercover informer in August and October 2016, including that Page denied meeting with the 2 Russians and did not play a role in changing a GOP platform position on Ukraine during the Trump nominating convention. The statements undercut 2 primary allegations made by the FBI in seeking the FISA warrant. Number 11. Now, this is great. The CIA alerted the FBI that Page was a friendly U.S. asset who had assisted the agency on Russia matters and was not a stooge for the Russians. So their whole claim that, Carter Page, he had, prior contacts with Russians and he's doing some work for the Trump campaign. Therefore, there must be something to the Steele dossier, even though we can't find anything to corroborate it, and what we are finding directly contradicts it. And yet they ignore the fact that Page's prior Russian contacts was in part due to his work in helping the CIA. So you're using his work for one intelligence agency to justify an investigation from another intelligence agency into the actions that he took working for the CIA. This is just great. This is awesome right here. Sloppiness? That's what you're going to attribute this to? All right, number 12. The FBI possessed exculpatory statements made by Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos, in which he told an undercover informer he and the Trump campaign were not involved in the Russia hacking of Clinton's emails and considered such activity to be illegal. The FBI originally opened the probe of Trump campaign on suspicions Papadopoulos was somehow involved in the hacking. And they tried to say this suspicion was based off of his meeting with Alexander Downer, the Australian ambassador, in a London bar, which I have pointed out, I have posted online, that by the time that meeting had taken place, outlets like Forbes magazine was already publishing opinion pieces about Russia having Clinton's emails and how they would use it. If you want to look it up, it was published around February of 2016, Forbes magazine, and the title of the article is, "What if Vladimir Putin has Hillary Clinton's emails?" And you can see that this was published prior to that London bar meeting. Yet, the FBI ignores that. Amazing how this keeps happening. And then finally, The FBI concluded in January 2017 that Trump National Security Advisor Mike Flynn was not being deceptive in his interview with agents, and likely suffered from a faulty memory and was not operating as a Russian agent. So this is another one of those amazing things whereby the FBI interviewed Michael Flynn. He was going based off of memory. He didn't have time to get his notes or review a telephone call because this was an ambush interview that the FBI got by deception. He had answered the questions to the best of his abilities. He, when prodded, would say, "Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me about that." And basically what they tried to say was a lie. Is they ask him, like, "What did you have for breakfast?" And he says, "Eggs and sausage." And Mueller comes around and goes, "You lied, because they were scrambled eggs and honey cured sausage," right? Because he wasn't providing enough detail. And again, even though the FBI had concluded that it wasn't an intention to deceive, Mueller comes in and decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to accuse you of lying. I'm going to put you under investigation, ask you a bunch of questions, but I'm not actually going to charge you so I don't have to take you to court. And then I'm going to bankrupt you and then threaten to go after your family. Geez, what would anybody do in that situation? A person who has seemingly unlimited power, not being supervised or checked by anyone. The only person he reports to seems to be a person involved in a conspiracy to get Trump, and now they're threatening your family. What would anybody do in that situation? I wonder. So as you can see, the whole idea that this was in any way just sloppiness, carelessness, and just simple mistakes is completely debunked by the body of evidence that we have. This was an intentional political targeting, and we have the evidence of that. We can see that despite them being warned many times, not only by a review of the evidence available, but by other people, that there was no legitimacy to this investigation, that the information was false and part of Russian disinformation campaign, they ignored all of that and continued on. Why? Because they weren't interested in uncovering the truth. The only thing they were interested in was trying to get Trump, trying to target a Republican candidate in order to benefit a Democrat candidate. And then after they failed at that, tried to get Trump removed from office, hoping they could find something with which to justify doing so, because they had an oh crap moment, we're going to get caught. See, they thought Hillary Clinton was going to win, especially since it seemed like they were feeding information to Hillary Clinton, and that none of this would come to light, and that those involved would be secured in the knowledge that they will be renominated to their position. Hillary lost. They had an oh crap moment. What happens if people start looking at this? I know we'll announce publicly that we are investigating the matter. Therefore, Trump can't fire us. Nobody in the Trump administration can actually review the body of evidence because that would be tampering with an investigation. And we'll just drag this on long enough until the Democrats can start retaking power, and then we can go ahead and bury this. Unfortunately, they kept finding nothing. There was no results being produced, and Mueller couldn't drag this on any further. Now, Mueller tried to develop a report that has been largely discredited as continuing the tradition of the FBI of doctoring and editing evidence to fit a narrative and leaving out the most crucial parts of each instance of this Trump-Russia collusion hoax that debunks the hoax. The Democrats, had their field day with it, but in the end, it was debunked. And now they have no more excuses. They have no more stall tactics. I mean, they might have tried with the Ukraine impeachment hoax, but they have nothing more. And now Attorney General Barr is informing us that Durham's investigation is not to produce a report, but to see about bringing criminal charges, which means these people may have to face criminal liability for their actions. But remember, we are in election year. So if things drag on too long, especially now that things are getting diverted due to the national crisis or global crisis that is going on, if they think that they can just make all of this go away, sweep it under the rug with the hopes of Joe Biden winning the election and then scrapping the investigation into SpyGate, that is about their only saving grace at this point. Otherwise, if Trump does get reelected, there will be people being slapped in handcuffs at some point, dragged off to jail. And once you start getting Comey in handcuffs, I do believe he's going to sing. He's going to sing, and he's going to let us know what Obama knew and when did Obama know it.